call the regular meeting of the Rural Housing Authority for October 26th, 2016 to order. Roll call, please.
Bill Powell,
Present.
Melanie Wimbley,
Here.
Ray Cruz,
I haven't heard from Commissioner Cruz. I believe he may be here.
Scott Morris,
Here.
Dave Richard,
Commissioner Richard is actually no longer a member of the board.
Joe Brisson,
Here.
and Laquita Haynes.
Quita, did you hear?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm here.
Approval of the minutes of regular meeting, September 28th, 2016.
I want you to have the approval minutes for September 20th.
I second.
Motion and second. Any discussions? Not all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Public comments.
Oh, we have Miss Sharon.
Oh,
You're on, man.
how y'all doing today? I just want to introduce y'all to our Vice President of Lake Terrace Tenant Council, that's Sylvia, and I have been working hard on everything. I got a chance to get everything set for the second week of November for the Thanksgiving dinner for the tenants and stuff. I put the paper up, and I did put up today papers for any candidates that want to run for president. And so far, we had one person that put her name on the paper, nobody else. So I did all that, and then I did take care, open up a tenant council account at Chase Bank, which I did all that, got it done. And what they did after I did is they gave me a business debit card, said my name on it, Maple Terrace Council, on it and stuff. But she said the first 2 months is free, but after that, they, took out $12 each month to keep the account open, make sure I keep it open and stuff. So I just want to let the board know I have worked hard, I got it done, and I'm just so glad I was able to do it.
Excellent. Thank you.
No other public comments. Review of financial reports.
For the month of September, the Housing Authority had a loss of about $62,000. So you look at that on a year-to-date basis, we still have a $262,000 net profit, so we're still doing actually very well financially, especially to this point in time of the year. As I mentioned, probably the last 2 months now, we're getting into REACT season, so we're going to start to see the expenditures that go along with that, a lot more maintenance expenses, a lot more contracting expenses. We're going to do that to make sure that we maintain last year's scores. We had really good scores last year. We want to maintain that, and we do want to improve on the scores a little bit as well. So you'll start to see, that the overall net profit will probably decrease a little bit over time. Were there any questions about the financials or the list of bills?
Review of top departmental reports.
The voluntary compliance agreement, as you know, we have the agreement with Fair Housing Department of HUD. We went back to them after we kind of looked at all the development projects that we worked on since 2013. We've created actually more than 100 units. However, they will not count the 44 St. Charles units. They reiterated that fact. They're just not going to accept those units. However, they are going to accept basically every other unit that we've created. So to date, we've created 78 out of the 100 required units. So we're really far along. I mean, in a relatively short period of time, we've covered more than 75% of the overall requirements. So we still have 22 to go, but we've got another 3 years basically before we need to be anywhere near that. And at the rate that we're working, we expect honestly to have a plan in place, and we'll actually you'll see our first plan in place for closing that gap in a relatively short period of time. Secondarily, last month we talked about some of the communication, some of the things that we wanted to do to improve our ability to communicate with our residents. I think you guys all got it in your board packet, but as of last week, we actually have a mobile app, both iOS or Apple and in the Android stores. It's free to download, so all of our residents can download that app. It comes with news, links to a lot of websites, to our Facebook website. It allows residents to put in maintenance requests or complaints or any issues that they're having. They can do right from their phone. For Section 8 or potential Section 8 clients, it actually has a link that goes directly to Google Maps. It shows all of the available Section 8 properties that we know of. So it's very early on. It's it's kind of new. Obviously, we're not a high tech computer company, so it's a little limited. But it does get basic information out. Has news, so we can actually do push notifications so that the news gets out to all the residents or anybody who actually downloads the app. It's not just for the residents. Really, anybody could benefit from the app. So, just so you guys know, we do actually do the things you tell us to do. So, as you all know, back in this August now, our former director of Section 8, Sue Lowe, retired. So we did a pretty extensive search, and we were fortunate enough to attract the talents of Keyshawn Q, who came to us from the Indianapolis Housing Authority. Every now and then I have to tell that I'm jealous of her because her Section 8 department in Indianapolis is actually larger than our entire housing authority. So, so she's here, she's joined, she's part of the community and part of the team. We're very excited to have her. So,
Welcome aboard.
are there any questions for me? Right.
At the top of your sheet there, you have your public housing numbers, waiting list. You have 550 public housing applicants. You have 95 voucher waiting list applicants and 535 project-based applicants at this time. The occupancy department did issue a few new vouchers, both housing voucher and project-based. And you'll see there caseworkers, the amount of annuals and interims that they've conducted over the last month, as well as recoupment from unreported income. We do have LIHEAP application dates for the family sites, some tentative dates, so we'll get, as that date gets a little bit closer, we'll send out notification to all the family sites when we'll be there. And then some of the items going on, different functions or events going on at the different sites. Any questions?
This month we won't have a report from the Section 8 department just because Keyshawn's still kind of wrapped around her thing. Next month she's actually going to present a new format with some additional information. So we actually won't hear from Section 8 this month, but next month and going forward you'll hear that report as well. So, Jim?
Yeah, we finished up all the furnace cleaning and inspections and fired up the boilers. Made the adjustments and everything for the residents stuff. As Mr. Gregory said, REAC is top on our list, so we're actually going to be starting our pre-inspections starting next week. Hopefully, the reason why that by the time REAC does come, we'll be able to get each unit at least twice, and some of the troublesome units, if we have to go back, it won't be overwhelming, so we'll stay ahead. I did meet with Kelvin Bean, he's the property standards manager there, and he actually walked with us as we did one of our REAC inspection and saw that ours is a little more detailed and a little more intense and stuff, so he's gonna get back with his boss, what is his name now? Chuck Nelson, and discuss whether not inspecting or even possibly eliminating, because he said it's kind of senseless that we go in as many times as we do, and for them to come out, because basically what they do is just the safety, they check the smoke detectors, make sure that, everything's health and safety. Ours is like I said, a little more detailed. We did, over at South when we did remove the washers and dryers, we did have a laundry facility over there, but constantly vandalism and stuff, so we had them removed, and now we're just gonna clean up and convert it, maybe use it as a storage or even for the maintenance, because there's no garage or anything for the maintenance shop over there. And then with the amount of vacancies and with the holidays coming up, the guys have been working really hard as far as turnaround units. You can see we did about 12 of them. So other than that, about it.
How was the response from the residents over there when we yanked that out?
Maria can probably address it a little bit better than I can, but I don't know that it was even open recently, was it?
It actually was closed for a little bit of time, just because there was issues there. They were being vandalized. They were constantly having to come out and fix the machines. The company really wasn't making a profit either. So instead of continuing to have that liability there, not just to us, but to the other company and their machines and all that, because I believe they were leased, it was just better to take those out.
So, You haven't heard any feedback?
Not as of yet, no.
That can always change.
No,
Yeah.
just wondered what, you know. Old business?
The only thing we wanted to do, and it's not really old business as much as just recognition, we did invite Commissioner Richard to tonight's meeting. We wanted to recognize him just for, I mean, he's been on the board for 3 years and he made some very significant contributions to this board. So we actually, we're going to present him with a small, token of our appreciation and certified letter just from the Housing Authority to him to thank him for his time here. We will get this mailed out to him. If any of you want to sign it, we can put it, we'll get this in the mail over to him so that he has that. We just definitely wanted to appreciate the work that he did while on the board.
Hey, Chief, it's Scott.
Yes, sir.
So, is that you that makes the Dave no longer on the board?
Correct. New board members were appointed last night.
Do you know who the new board members are, Scott?
I do not.
Okay.
So one young lady is actually on the phone. Laquita Haynes is one new commissioner, and then Yannick Garcia was also appointed.
Just I'm hearing, but I didn't catch either one of them at the time.
He didn't catch names.
Oh, Laquita Haynes and Yannick Garcia.
Okay.
And Ms. Haynes is on the phone with you right now. She's not present at the meeting, but she's on the phone line.
Okay, great.
Okay. New business.
All right. So as we all know, we're on October. We do, and I can never get the projector to work. How we put this thing in here, it kind of works. Around this time of year, we do a year in review, basically summing up what we've done in the past 12 months, and then starting to look forward at what we are going to do for the next 12 months. But everything to work. See, man, it always treats me bad. Like now, if I'm in here, like not doing work, it works just fine. I don't understand. Okay, I'm not gonna argue with it. Yeah, I lose every time. Every time I lose, I apologize. We'll work on one screen. So for the past 12 months, we've had kind of let's say a roller coaster year. We've had some really good turnouts. We've had some things that were a little bit challenging. So we always want to recap those and kind of give you a little glimpse into where we've been. All right. So one of the major challenges, and it's kind of been a theme, especially in the last probably 5 to 6 months, is just our communications issues. We've had and we've rolled out a steady stream of new projects, new initiatives, a lot of new things that are either first of their kind for our agency, first of their kind for the state, first of their kind nationally in some instances. But kind of a recurring theme has been our inability to communicate that to the residents. Whether it's been confusion on when things are happening, confusion on Joe's music, confusion on
Sesame Street.
But we've had some issues getting that message across. That's been one of our major challenges. It's something that we need to really bring attention to on our end and address going forward. Secondly, though we today have our partners from the Beacon here, generally with a lot of the things that we have going on, we don't get much attention. We obviously we want to be recognized when we're doing good things. Obviously, we could avoid some of the other attention, but this is an agency that has activity, whether it's a new development or it's a new initiative that we're doing. We have, again, I can't really stress enough that we have nationwide firsts at this agency. But those things kind of tend to stay around our inner circle. So we know, City of Aurora knows, people who are involved with the Housing Authority know, but people outside really don't know that. So we really need to make a bigger push because we haven't had much coverage. We're an award-winning housing authority, yet if you ask people, how many people actually know that? So it's important that we kind of push that a little bit harder. And as always is the case, federal resources are going down, yet the number of restrictions are going up. It's a continual decline in funding and an increase in regulation. And There are a million conspiracy theories as to why that is, but the reality is this is the world we're living. It doesn't really matter why, that's just the world we're in. Last 12 months have also been really good. So we closed on the financing for the St. Charles Senior Living Center, which was a phenomenal project, and it's coming close to leasing time, and I know not everybody's had an opportunity to see it, but when we do have the grand opening, you get to see this is a phenomenal project. It's a phenomenal location. They've done an amazing job turning the building around, bringing it back to life. It's going to be a great place for seniors to live, and our involvement in that helped to make that possible. So we got to that closing, which was really big. We just had a grand opening on the Fox Prairie home, so the leasing has started on that. We're actually pretty much done with the leasing on that. Most of the families are in. We just have a few more units to fill. So that also has been another big positive. These are things where 5 years ago, 3 years ago even, people couldn't fathom that we could be doing this kind of work, but we've taken those steps. So it's been huge, and that's just in the past 12 months. You're talking about over 100 units between those two properties of new housing that we've helped to create. We did have the issues with the physical inspection scores, and we got those scores up. And last year, actually, the AM2 score was an 80, which in HUD terms is basically a great, high-performing score for that site. So good, they actually will not come out and inspect it this year. They won't be out until next year to inspect it because the score was so high. We're planning to have the same kind of score for our AMP1, but we had the increase. We set a plan, we put that plan in motion. Jimmy and his team, Carlos, they really got that work done, and we got the results that we were looking for. As we recently also know, the Aurora Artist Lofts and our portion, which is the Culture Court residences, receive tax credits as well. So again, we're involved in really what, as we mentioned at the grand opening, is really the future of affordable housing. And we're really at the forefront of all of that activity. Though we did have our communications mishaps, we did roll out the Comcast broadband internet program. And to be fair, to understand the complexity of our rollout, we didn't just offer it to residents, as most housing authorities offer that to their residents at the resident's cost. We did the first ever bulk purchase and provided that for free to 189 units. That's never been done. Comcast actually had to rewrite their contract in order to accommodate the purchase that we were doing. So it shows, our commitment to both creativity, but also our commitment to our residents. It's been an interesting 12 months. Like I said, it has ups, it has downs, and every 12 months, every 12-month period will have that. We obviously want to have more ups and downs, but the reality is any given year it could be different. But that's just kind of a picture of where we've been. We always get to this part, and I always enjoy doing this part because it kind of opens the doors to what is possible. Now, we obviously don't do all of these projects, but it's kind of an eye-opener as to what the Housing Authority is capable of. So we're going to break them down. Usually we just do we just roll it all. We're going to break it down into two: minor initiatives and major initiatives. The minor initiatives are things that are more policy. They're a little easier to implement. They don't take as much legwork to actually get done. These are the initiatives that we can, with pretty much a swipe of a pen to a certain degree, can get these done. As we mentioned, we had the issue with communications, and I think it's a good time for us to take a more focused approach to our public relations and our communications. We want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be recognized for what we do, but we can't always rely on other people to do that, and we want to be able to craft that message. You look at any public agency that's larger, like CHA, your Cook counties, any major agency, even the city of Aurora, they have an individual or a team, a contractor, whoever, who's responsible for really controlling and crafting that message. And I think that's something that, while we certainly get a lot of information out on Facebook and Twitter and different things, we're not experts in that. We're experts in public housing. We really need somebody who understands public relations and how to utilize those services to get our message out to the public. Surprisingly, and I didn't even realize this until I was putting this together, starting in April of 2017, which is a few months from now, we will be in the last year of our strategic plan, of our first 5-year plan, which is, it happened really fast. It didn't seem like we've really been working on it that long. So we're at the point now where we need to start planning for phase 2. So we're gonna have to start, having those meetings, having those discussions about where we're gonna be from now until 2022. And let's make sure that Keith Gregory is included in that process. But it's surprising how quickly we got through and how much we got done in such a short period of time. But it is time to start, doing that planning. So that'll be another kind of big thing that we're going to get started on in the next 12 months. Nonprofit partnerships, and what I mean by this is, we work in a world where we are a service provider. You know, regardless of how we look at ourselves, we provide a general public service. And Aurora has a huge supply of service providers that often all work in their own little silos. And we, you know, we're no different. I mean, I think one of the benefits of being who we are is that we're federally funded, and our funding generally, though decreasing, is pretty stable. And you know, we have the good fortune to be able to really focus on our core activities and know that those are going to be paid for versus a lot of the nonprofits in the area where they have to fundraise and have to take part in other activities. I think that we actually can be the cornerstone of what amounts to a larger kind of organization that brings all of the nonprofits together. You know, where we sit at this table and the heads of a variety of nonprofits come together and talk about the issues that we're all facing and figure out how we can really use all of our resources to meet the needs. It's kind of how we've done these these public-private partnerships with the city and with these developers, where we've looked at the resources that we all individually have and recognize that together we can do a lot more. And I think the same goes for the nonprofit world. If we get everybody at the table, all of a sudden, not just our residents, but the entire city's residents really have access to just a wider portfolio of assistance programs. Our scholarship, our galas are wonderful, right? So we put on these huge, really expensive galas, and they're wonderful. I think, you know, it's something that when at the time Chairman Champion came up with it, what I think was a great and very much needed idea, and I'm really happy that we were able to be involved in them. And I think we've kind of changed the tone of who we are by, you know, raising so much money and getting it out to the community. But the reality is it's expensive, and as a housing authority, we're starting to, you know, as these things grow, we're starting to get into a world where we're spending a lot more money than maybe we should be on an event. Because again, I understand that a lot of organizations put on very glitzy and glamorous events, but that's because they need those events to fundraise. We don't. So we're just spending, not to say just spending, but we're spending a lot of money to get these events off the ground and make them very nice. And it is just an expense to us. So I think if we set the Scholarship Foundation aside as a separate entity, a 501c3, which as a housing authority we're actually not, that organization can then receive donations that are tax deductible for those who donate, and can actually, you know, create an ongoing source of funding for scholarships and a variety of other things too. We also get kind of hamstringed because, and we're having this kind of ongoing conversation with our auditors about, yes, the Scholarship Foundation and its activities are technically an eligible expense, but it's starting to border on, because of the size and the scale of it, it becomes an issue of it's eligible, but is it appropriate? And you know, we want to make sure that by separating the two out, we don't have that question any longer. And again, we are able to really just create a true standalone foundation that can grow on its own. Now the fun stuff. The major initiatives, these are the kind of projects, if you remember, we roll out or we propose really big changes, some of which are ideas that we would love to do. Some of them are ideas that we actually do, like the tiered housing program. Others are ideas that prove that we can think outside of the box, and then pieces of those ideas kind of filter in to other operational areas. So the first, we talked about earlier, one of our kind of challenges and our successes is that we've come so far in our VCA. So we need 22 more units. The development company has partnered in enough actual development projects now that we've started to gain a reputation for being a successful development company. One of the things that we've talked about and we've said, you know, the reason we really got the development company up and running was because we wanted to, at some point in time, be able to self-develop and do these projects ourselves. It's not that we don't like the developers. They've been extremely useful, and they've taught us a lot about how to get these done. But just like any business, the next natural step is to do these for ourselves. So as I mentioned, we need to do 22 more units of housing to complete the VCA. We have, as an organization, if you remember when we first talked about Jericho Circle, when we first talked about the Foxbury Homes, we committed to being an agency that was really about scattered site housing. I think at the time we pretty much all agreed that that's the model of housing that, one, is the future of affordable housing, but two, is best, especially for families, for children, to have that kind of style of housing. However, we've also run into a strange situation where, while it was very exciting at the end of the foreclosure crisis, state funds, federal funds, IDA have all kind of moved on, and they've all kind of focused elsewhere. The adaptive reuse is kind of a big thing now. Scattered site has kind of lost its appeal. And as a result, developers they tag along to whatever IDA is funding. IDA isn't adding additional points for scattered site anymore. So developers have naturally moved on. However, it's still, I think, and I think we as a group think, is the best way to move housing forward. So it's something where, we still have a desire to do that, but the world that helped to fund it has kind of moved on into a different direction. Again, like I said, we committed to that. So our proposal is we'll partner, the Housing Authority will partner with the development company to create 25 units of housing in the region. And we don't want to just focus, we've talked about, how we have a lot of really nice communities around us that don't often share the burden, I don't want to say burden, but share share in the affordable housing in the community. And again, there are a lot of great, we have Naperville, Batavia, Geneva, St. Charles, a lot of these really nice areas that really don't have affordable housing and also have a need federally to create affordable housing. They're in the same boat that every other city is in that takes federal funds. They're being pushed upon to create more affordable housing. So we can actually help the city of Aurora, help the Housing Authority, help our residents, and help the neighboring communities by solving everybody's problem all at the same time. All the units will be either single family, duplex, triplexes. We're not gonna, obviously we don't wanna do large scale mass housing anymore, so we wanna get to these smaller, more lower density projects. The Housing Authority would contribute the vouchers, as we've done with a variety of projects in the past. These 25 vouchers, we would contribute to the project. And it's really not an expensive project. I mean, $3 million is a lot of money, but in terms of a 25 unit housing project, it's really not that expensive. What it will allow us to do as well is it sets a tone that we can now, a successful project like this opens the doors for the Housing Authority and the Development Corporation to really say we can go anywhere and do these kinds of projects and have these impacts. We don't have to do $30 million, $50 million projects. $3 million is enough to have a 25 unit impact, and 25 units every so often adds up after time, and it just allows us access to more opportunity. So this map here just shows, and it's just a hypothetical, we looked at available units in a 30-mile radius that were under $100,000 in cost, and we added roughly $35,000 to $50,000 per unit for rehab costs that might be necessary. But what you can see is the map is a little, there obviously is a core of units in Aurora, both on the east and west sides of the city. There's also units in Montgomery, Naperville, Batavia, North Aurora, and I think there's one in Geneva. So it shows there is inventory that exists that can make this project work. Now, obviously, that map is probably about a week or so old. Inventory will change, but the reality is it shows that there are opportunities. We just have to be in a position to kind of seize on those opportunities. So are there any questions on this one? We're gonna move, there's two more, so. Our second one is the Client Experience Center. For our Section 8 residents particularly, but also our public housing residents, everybody comes to the Jericho Circle office to conduct, transact their business. So it's a trip. If you're in the next slide, your public transportation ride is over an hour, and that's if you're coming from downtown. If you're on the east side, it's actually 2. And when you really do the math about taking public housing here, if you're starting at downtown, it's roughly an hour to get here. Say you're here for 20 minutes. Then you have to go back outside. The bus only comes once every hour. So now you're at 2 hours plus your hour ride back. So now you're at 3 hours for what really amounted to you needed to come here and sign some paperwork, and you could have been on your way. Now, to be fair, when we built this office, we did a study. Most of our residents come by car. So it's not a challenge for everybody, but it's still a challenge for somebody. On top of that, even if you are coming by car, it's still it's a little inconvenient. If you're on the east side of town, if you're at Maple Terrace and you needed to come here, you just have to come all the way on the other side of town. If we had a more central location that provided maybe not all of the services, but a light version of the services, then we would be able to accommodate probably 50 to 60% of people's needs without forcing them to come all the way on the other end of town from where they might end up being. We love a first. We love to be, kind of pushing the limits and pushing the edge on things. There aren't very many customer service driven affordable housing models nationwide. There just aren't. Housing authorities are by and large government agencies, and we have, though to our detriment sometimes, we treat our clients as if they are captive customers. We know they have to come see us no matter where we are. They have to do business where we are. And so oftentimes, as an industry, not just us, but as an industry, we don't make it convenient. We don't really bother ourselves with the customer service experience. And I think it's a shift that we need to make, because if by making that shift, one, we hopefully would have happier clients, but two, it positions us in a way that opens doors as far as teaching other agencies how this can be done in a much more practical manner. And I think if we do this the right way, it can actually be a less expensive way to conduct our business. The plan here would be to purchase a building or lease a building in downtown Aurora, which is basically, Aurora has an interesting kind of setup. It's pretty much equal size on both sides. So downtown makes the perfect location, and a lot of, we're starting to build capacity of housing in downtown, Culture Court. You're gonna have a lot of affordable housing in and around that area. St. Charles Hospital is right up the street. So all these things are kind of coming together in the downtown area. So having a building, and not a big, we don't really need this to be a large scale. We're not talking about a huge office. We're talking about just say one, almost like a storefront office basically. For our residents, like I said, it will basically cut ride times in half, either by car or public transportation, because now all you have to get to is downtown, which is a central hub for transportation. If you're taking a bus, it's much easier to get to the transportation center and then to downtown than it is to get all the way over here. If you're driving, again, downtown's still a lot more central for probably 90% of our residents. The customer service center will basically sit on the first floor, be like a storefront basically. I guess there aren't very many government agencies to use an example, but essentially we want a storefront. We want first floor, glass entrance, customer service staff in that room, helping our clients file paperwork, do recertification, sign documents. All of that can be, the basic stuff can be handled in that office. We don't have to have people come all the way out here just to sign documents. They can do that, they can make an appointment and do that right downtown. We want to have offices, or maybe either supportive services offices or even our offices upstairs. We've set ourselves up now with our software. It's basically all cloud-based. So anything that we enter in, we can scan it back to this office, we can scan it to any office anywhere. Even our actual public housing software is now in the cloud. So everything we do can be done. I can honestly, it'd be very hard, but I can log into our Elite software if I had it on my phone. We can take a tablet anywhere. The laptops we have, we're pretty much, we talk about being fully mobile, we're pretty much there. The only thing that's not right now, we're working on that, is the files. Once we get the files, we will be a completely paperless, we will be a completely paperless agency. So we've taken the steps to build the infrastructure. All we need to do now is take the steps to actually utilize that infrastructure. The big thing about this is we want it to be customer service oriented. We want the people that work there to only do customer service. I don't think this works well if we have caseworkers doing casework. I want customer service people. You want the same experience when you go into a Best Buy. People greet you, they work with you, they walk you through the process, they make it easy for you. That's what we want. So if we were to do this, we want to do this starting from the customer's point of view. We want customer service and build up from there. The idea would be that we would have that experience. Now, obviously, I'm not one for taking things the way they are, so if we're gonna do it, we wanna take it to that next step. You want that big, bright, modern room. You want it to look like we're on the cutting edge, because that's what we are. We don't, we live and die by pushing the edge. That's really what we do. So our offices need to look that way. Everything we do needs to feel that way. We kind of want to take our cues almost from an Apple store. It's clean, it's modern, but it has everything you would want in it to get this work done. And the people in it are knowledgeable, friendly, they're there to help, and their entire purpose is to kind of help the clients through this process. So we want to take cues from the retail center more so than we would from the office or from a corporate or from a government point of view. We really want to look at it from the way retailers approach their customers. I think if we take that initiative, we have the opportunity, one, to really change the way that we conduct our business, but two, change the way that we're seen and our clients, kind of interact with us as well. Are there any questions on this one? You guys are making it easy. All right.
That's customer service, not property managers will still be on site?
Yeah, property managers will still be on site. That piece is, we always have to have, the on-site property manager. But even that, if, for example, we have public housing residents who may need to come to the main office for something where, again, they can potentially go here, or in this case, if they're doing a recertification, an individual from this office could go to their site, meet with them. Again, if we switch the model so that it's customer service first, then all of a sudden, the way we operate the business changes. And all of a sudden, we're not saying, okay, well, you need to come to your appointment here. It's set the appointment, we'll come to you and meet with you in the office on site. And we kind of started this process. We kind of took like a half step to this in our sites too. So we want the property management offices to mirror this kind of approach. Obviously, it wouldn't be as nice, but we'd want to get them to a point where they also participated in this. Anything else? All right, one more, and I'm going to scare you guys with this one, and I apologize. It's just I gotta have one that's just a little ridiculous. So we're 78% done with the VCA. When it's done, it means the Jericho Circle site is completely free and clear, and we need to find something to do with it, unless you would like paying landscaping for 12 acres, which is kind of expensive. We've looked at the site and we've looked at a lot of things, and the one thing I think we've all kind of unanimously agreed is that housing isn't the right thing here. However, if you look at the area and what's happening around here, especially just up the street, it's becoming kind of a hub for sports and entertainment. Aurora University is going to lay out their entire sports complex just up the street here. Because of that, I think it presents us an opportunity to seize on that. So to seize on that opportunity and really become a part of what they're doing. So again, we have 12.4 acres of undeveloped land here. Once the VCA is done, we need to find a use for the land. We've done some things, as you know, there's actual soccer fields that we've cut out up in the far corner over there, and they've been very successful. In the summertime, Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's very busy. A lot of kids running around, families are sitting out there, and it's a great thing to see. And it shows us that there is a need for more space for sports, particularly soccer, hockey, those kinds of the sports that require pretty large areas of space. Obviously, again, we talked about our overall federal resources kind of coming down. It's always a good idea for us to find ways to create dollars on our own. And the reason being, it avoids both of the problems that plague us, really, is that the dwindling resources and the fact that the restrictions are increasing. All of the restrictions exist because we take federal dollars. Any dollar that we earn on our own, free and clear of the federal government, has no restrictions. It's our money. We can do whatever we want with it. So, again, these kinds of opportunities allow us to become the agency that we want to be versus the one that we maybe have to be in some instances. So the proposal is to develop a multi-purpose sports and office complex here. We've actually had our architects, SMT, actually did an entire analysis. I'm more than happy to share the analysis with the board that goes, she actually had conversations with the city, with some stakeholders to really get a feel for what fit, what didn't fit, what could be approvable by the city, what would be acceptable to the neighboring community. And the sports and office complex was one use that really kind of fit well with everyone. Obviously, in this day and age, I don't think anybody builds anything new that's not LEED certified. Obviously, we want to be involved in that as well. We would do, our plans, you'll see the kind of rough drawings that we have. Our plans actually include a small wind farm, full solar on the top of the office complex, and likely full solar on the top of the sports complex as well. The sports building would be ideal to complement Aurora University sports complex. So that's what they're building next door. It would be ideal for us to look at any buildings that they don't have. And I think one of the items that's in the analysis is ice hockey. They apparently have an ice hockey team, but they don't have a facility specifically for that. If we built a facility that could accommodate that, then we actually kind of come with built-in renters as well, because then we can lease that space to them, and that creates the funding that kind of keeps this whole thing moving. The office building would do two things. Obviously, one, it would replace our headquarters, even though I really like this office because I have that fireplace, but it would replace our office. But two, as we talked earlier about bringing nonprofits together, we started to have some conversations with other nonprofits in the community and saying, if we were all in one place, and if we were all working kind of collaboratively in one office, would it benefit all of our different clients? If we had a client here who came in, and yes, they were getting housing from us, but they also needed food stamps, they also maybe needed domestic violence abuse counseling, and we had all of those organizations in one place, all of a sudden this becomes a central location that allows for people to receive all their benefits, all in one place. All the agencies are here, we're working together to accommodate people. And again, it's kind of about making things easier for the customer. I think that's really the direction that, as an agency, we really want to start moving into is, yes, we're a housing authority. Yes, we don't have to do any of this. But if we do, can we do it so that our clientele and that the clientele of the entire city or region can benefit from what we do? And again, the sports building, I think the two primary things out here, soccer, I don't think there's enough soccer space in the state of Illinois. So adding soccer fields indoor, especially indoor that can be used in the wintertime. One of the big things when we talk about the development companies done very been very busy, especially in the wintertime, because you have a lot of youth soccer organizations, and they need a place for the kids to practice indoors in the wintertime. Having a gym allows the kids to have that spot. So building an actual indoor heated soccer facility would be, honestly, if you leave it up to Carlos, it'll be full every day plus the weekend. So, it's that kind of thing though. There's always a need for that. There's always been a need for more. And then again, with Aurora University's ice hockey team not having a stable facility, actually having one built in for them. And with ice hockey, you can obviously with the United Center, you see that can be flipped to basketball as well. So you kind of have that opportunity. Maybe Aurora can host. And I'm from Indiana, so I'm a big high school basketball fan. But you have the sectionals, the regionals, your state titles. You can do that kind of thing if you build a brand new facility. That's the kind of thing that will attract those kinds of events to your facility. Rough costs, and this is the part that kind of always kills it. It's a $30 million project as of just rough estimates, and that's based on just knowing what construction costs on average, materials, etc. But to be honest, $30 million sounds like a huge sum of money. It's not. I mean, when you talk about a project of this magnitude, $30 million really isn't an insurmountable amount of money to come up with. Yes, it's going to take some work. We're going to have to lean on a lot of different resources, but this is the kind of thing at $30 million that is realistically doable. We're going to need to really commit to it, but it can happen. So we had the architects draw up really rough presentation. Obviously, the sports facility is on the bottom right there. The office building will be on the left. That presentation actually does leave this office here, which it could be taken out to add parking or make the right of way a little bit easier. One of the things we did stress on was the parking. Obviously, with new buildings of this size, you're going to want to have enough parking. So that's one of the things you'll see. A lot of the space there gets taken up for parking. There was a conversation with the park district about the park that's over there. It used to be for Jericho Circle. They did indicate that they may have an interest if this were to come to fruition in also giving us that space, that we could also do additional parking or some other kind of use on that land as well. So it goes, so you see in the back there's water features, it's the drainage, you've got the wind farm in the back, a walking path. So it kind of melds a lot of things I think Aurora is becoming known for. It's a very fit center, it's obviously sports are being brought in, but it's also green, it's also pushing kind of the envelope as far as building design as well. One of the things I did tell Michelle at SMT is if we're going to do this, if we ever get to the point where we're doing this, these buildings have to look amazing and they have to look very unique. I mean, we're not, I think, in the business of kind of doing just boxy buildings. So we would want to really push the envelope as far as how we presented this project. And just kind of a different angle showing the possibilities there. And again, you can really build anything because we've got 13 acres of just developable space. And the beauty of that, when we did the demolition of the old Jericho Circle site, we tore up the ground. So we dug deep down enough so we don't have to actually go back underground to really tear anything else out. The site's ready for development. It's just a matter of us deciding, what it is that we're going to develop on that site. So, talked enough? Any questions?
I think that's great.
Hey, Keith,
Yes, sir.
is this all like in the presentation deck that you got up?
Yes.
Can you email or get them out to all of us so that
Absolutely. Joe said you don't get a copy of it though because you didn't come.
Yeah, I mean, it actually sounds good, but it's gonna be huge. Trying to think something like that magnitude. We've got 3 years left, so we can't really do anything for at least 3 years, right? I'm saying.
Well, we can't, the moment we finish the VCA, so we
Right,
get
that's what I'm
26,
saying.
yeah. But yeah, we have 3 years to finish it.
Right.
But if we were to buy 25 houses tomorrow, we'd be ready to go, as far as the land is concerned. But yeah, we do have 3 years to kind of piece all the, if we were to do this, we've got that time to kind of build it, yes.
Yeah, because I mean, it's,
It would take 3 years to get past pre-development anyway.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely thinking outside the box.
Absolutely. I like it. Just don't build a dome.
Just not one that's gonna fall in, but that's all.
Exactly.
Anybody, any questions?
Hey, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Well, I was talking to Chief, but you can do Chief.
Oh.
Sounds like Chief spent too much time on his hands
Yeah, absolutely. But you didn't see the physical presentation, Scott, and it you know, it looks pretty good, and we've always known we have possibilities out here, you know, with the amount of land that we have, so, you know, I'm not opposed to keep talking and see what we can come up with.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, you know, I want to welcome our new board member. I know she was on the phone earlier, and appreciate you becoming a part of us. If you have any questions, I'm sure that you will. I'm sure Keith will be making himself available. We're all making ourselves available for anything, and this is an enjoyable experience. So I think you're gonna like it. And welcome aboard. You're welcome. Any other business? One thing that I wanna really throw out, I think we need to, we talked about it in the last meeting, we're getting a little bit behind in, Keith's evaluation. So you weren't able to talk to, were you able to
No,
talk? What?
no, we never
So
set up anything.
what I'm gonna probably suggest, and if you're all agreeable with this, that maybe we'll do it a little bit different this year. If all the board members, and of course, you certainly don't have to, you can ignore this, because you're new. If we can, you know, jot some things down, about, you know, about what we've seen from Keith, in the past year. And somehow I'll have to figure out how to maybe talk with, get the staff together, maybe I can just meet with them and get some input from them. And then hopefully by the next meeting, certainly by December's meeting, but absolutely by the next meeting that I can come up with, you know, maybe, an evaluation that's fair, and I can present that to Keith, because I don't think it's fair to him that we push this off. It's supposed to be done in September, and circumstances beyond our control that, you know, board member that usually takes care of it is not on the board anymore. But I definitely think, I want to get that done. So if you guys don't have any objection to that, Scott, you know, maybe getting something to me, you know.
Chief,
Yes.
when you, schedule a time with the team there, staff, I'm happy to, co-pilot that with you, like.
Okay, absolutely. We'll get it done probably in the next couple of weeks. I'll just have to find some time, a day where I can, find my way clear, and, I'll give you a call, Scott, and we can coordinate that.
Okay.
Okay. All right, but in the meantime, if you know, if you can, then over probably next week, maybe a week and a half or so, if you workers jot some things down, pluses, minuses, suggestions, anything like that, and then, you know, give me a call or something, and I'll get it from you, or email it to me, and then we'll get that cleaned up. Okay? Any other discussions or anything? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
My motion on Johnson.
Second.
The motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thanks, Scott.
Bye, Scott.